back.
Yep, and if you're joining us right now, we're just getting our first conversation started. And as we said before the break, we are going to be joined by representatives from Belize Electricity Limited, and they're going to be updating us on what they've been doing in the aftermath of Hurricane Lisa. And joining us via Zoom, we have Vonetta Burrell, who is the manager from the Corporate Communications Department from BEL. And we also have Herschel Armstrong, who is the general manager of distribution services. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We know you guys must be super busy at this time.
And exhausted. So thank you both for coming in. As of right now, November the 8th, what is the total percentage of coverage that BEL has managed to restore within within Belize City and the surrounding areas?
Good morning, April. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
First of all, before we get into the BEL updates, we just want to say thanks to Channel 5 and all the other media who have been helping us to convey all our messages during the storm, also post Hurricane Lisa, and of course, acknowledge all the community efforts underway to help each and every household, business, school, enterprise to recover from the effects of the storm. We are happy to report that our teams continue to push to make sure that every single BEL customer gets connected. We are very close to 100%. Herschel will be sharing the specific update about where we are as of this morning. But we just want to say thanks for this opportunity to speak directly with you and to give you some up-to-the-minute information from BEL and our teams out there. Herschel?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Vonetta. Hi again, Gavin and April. We, as Vonetta said, we're really close to completing 100% restoration of all the customers that were affected. But I want to give you guys an idea of what we've been up against over the last few days. So we lost power to most customers in all the service areas along the central belt of the country. So from Belize City to our Ladyville service area, which includes all the rural areas in Belize District, or Belmopan service area, which includes surrounding villages and rural areas there, and then our San Ignacio service area, which includes all those rural and surrounding villages. And that constitutes somewhere around 50% of our customers.
Wow.
So it was about 50,000 plus customers that were out of power on Wednesday night.
Wow.
And we hit the ground running right away. We started with our assessments, and we got into the work to begin preparation for restoration right after the all clear was given, or I should say even before the formal all clear was given. And so at this point, we've come now to the point where we've restored most of the high voltage network. So I want to give you guys a quick electricity system 101, right? So we have generation sources that send power through our transmission network, and that gets sent now through substations down to our distribution networks that take the power to customers in all of the villages and cities and communities. And so our generation and transmission parts of the system were not affected as much. The transmission system had maybe 3 sections that had little issues. We were able to deal with most of those on Wednesday night into Thursday. And after that, we moved on to our distribution systems. Well, parallelly, we were already looking at our distribution networks. And that is where we saw extensive damage. There is where most of the work has been done over the last 5 days. And we are now at the point where we're at the end of those distribution networks, trying to get power to small pockets of customers and individual customers all over the 4 service areas that I spoke of. That's in progress right now. I anticipate that that last point something of a percent will be just as hard as the first 80.
Wow.
So that's the nature of the work. But we continue, as Vonetta said, to work on those things, and we intend to not rest until every last customer is restored.
Well, and that's very good to hear. And when we speaking about the actual damages to the systems, or what are we looking at in terms of the scope of what Lisa brought to the various parts that just described? Was there extensive damage that needed to be repaired, or were the fixes? Or was there a plan to, were the fixes, I don't want to say easy, but were you able to facilitate them, quickly?
Yeah, so they were certainly not easy.
Yeah.
We had damages primarily to our poles on the network. Okay. So we had about 100 plus poles that were broken in the aftermath of the storm, and then about double that were leaning as well. So customers might be seeing poles still leaning actually, that we have marked and assessed before, and have intended to leave until we can come back to deal with those things, because the primary focus right now is getting back power to customers in a safe and efficient way.
Yeah.
But we've determined that those poles are good enough to be left, at least for now, and we come back after we're able to get power back to most persons, right? So pole damage has been definitely the most prevalent type of or form of issues that we found. We've also found things like trees on the line. We've had a number of smaller things with respect to the distribution system and on the devices on the network. But I think the poles is the most prevalent issue that we've seen. That requires equipment, that requires manpower, that requires trained resources to deal with. And so it's been a very grueling 5 days for our teams out there.
Yeah. When it comes to planning for BEL, we live in a hurricane belt. It is just a natural thing that we prepare for these months, because whether we get hit or not, we do live in a hurricane prone area. So normally, right, what would be the steps that BEL would take to plan for a possible natural disaster that would come our way?
Excellent question, April. I actually take the opportunity to say that BEL plans for hurricanes all year round. So we have a hurricane preparedness plan that we follow on an annual basis that lays out all the things that we do year round, as I said, to prepare for the eventuality of a hurricane. And that includes everything from maintenance of our system, replacing rotten poles on a regular basis, tree trimming and cuts. And I'd like to take the opportunity to remind customers here that trees are a huge danger to our networks. Tree contacts with the line, even in some cases, trees just coming in too close proximity to the line. The transmission line can't afford to have those types of encroachments on it. And so tree trims, tree cuts, clearing of the right of way of the lines is an important aspect of preparing for a hurricane. Because once the hurricane comes, it's too late.
Yeah.
I know we're receiving plenty calls from customers the day before or even the morning of the hurricane to help with tree cuts, and at that point it's too dangerous, it's too late for us to deal with those things. So we want to remind customers that really is a key issue for us, and we hope that customers will work with us going forward once we've seen the type of devastation that type of thing causes. But aside from that, April, we also prepare for the restoration itself. And so the things that we do all year round is to make sure that the system is ready, make sure that our teams are prepared and equipped, make sure that we have materials on hand to be able to respond in the event of a hurricane. And then on the restoration side, we prepared our teams to be able to do very detailed and accurate damage assessment. And that involves, for us now, the use of technology. Yeah. So we have GIS handheld devices that we use to capture that data. So our teams go out. In fact, like, as I said, before the all clear was given, we were out capturing information from structure to structure on the extent of that damage, so that we knew what those locations were. We understood what the scope of it was. We were able to make a plan on the fly to have our teams now come behind in doing the repairs. And so that was essential for us. The assessment for any hurricane restoration is perhaps 90% of the battle in terms of making sure you go efficiently. After that, the work, of course, is the bulk of it. Right. But without that assessment, we're blind, right? So that's a key aspect. And then making sure our teams are properly equipped, sourced. We also hire contractors to support us. So those types of things make us ready to hit the ground running and start to get back power to people, right?
Vonetta, talk to us about the collaboration with the various stakeholders that BEL has in order for us to be able to have this contingency plan for us to be able to get restoration back at 100%. Can you share with us the other stakeholders involved in this process?
Well, the primary stakeholder are our customers, all the different customer segments that we have, the public at large, of course, the media, and our community partners. Leading up to the hurricane season, we always make sure that we're providing the relevant messaging on our various platforms, keeping the public aware of what are some of the hazards that are impending prior to the hurricane season. So, for example, some of the things that Herschel mentioned, the major cause of outages year-round is vegetation, trees in proximity to power lines in your neighborhood. That's one of the things that we are hoping the public can now see the direct effect of how not managing your trees and your vegetation on your property can lead to a lot of work and a lot of repairs if there is a storm. And of course, during normal times as well. So be mindful of where you're planting trees. If you have trees that are tall, that will grow tall, please remember not to plant them too close to a power line or under a power line, not in proximity to it. Also, one of the other things that's a major factor after the storm is safety hazards. Steer clear of anything that may have fallen in your neighborhood. Any line, it could be cable, it could be telephone lines, it can be electrical lines. It's hard to tell. Just assume that it's charged, electrically charged, and stay away from it. There's a lot of debris around, and you may not see what's on the ground. Be mindful that those can present safety hazards, safety risks. They can be life-threatening. So please stay away from that. Those are messages that we cannot repeat enough. And we continue to share with our customers as well why it's important to let us know what specific scenario you're facing now that we're at the restoration phase. We have main communities reconnected to our service, but we know that there are customers who are still without power, who need some specific assistance, neighborhoods that might need specific works to occur, repairs to maybe transformers, low voltage lines. Those are things that while we do have our teams scouring the different communities that we have restored, we also need customers to report into us anything that they might be experiencing that's preventing them from reconnecting to BL service. Yeah. And also on a more direct level, we ask businesses and homeowners to please get a licensed electrician if there's anything in your home that could be hazardous. Any piece of equipment that may have been water damaged, any part of your home that may have been submerged in water, please keep the breaker off. Get a licensed electrician to do your checks. I know that the hurricane has passed several days, but some people might just be going back to their homes and getting back, trying to get back a sense of normalcy. But please don't take anything for granted. If you see evidence that there was an influx of water at a certain level in your house, at the outlet level, it's never wise to test it. Go ahead and get a licensed electrician to come in and check your premises. Businesses that may not have been occupied for the past few days, please do a thorough check before you start up any of your equipment, before you plug in any device. We really want people to protect your life and be as safe as possible. Electricity is a powerful thing, but it's also dangerous if it's not handled with respect. So those are the main things that we want to share today. Where we are at this phase, we're reconnecting, we're addressing the low-level issues, the more direct customer issues, but don't forget that these are things that DL needs to be aware of as well. Any hazard, call us on our 800 number, 0800 BL Care. You can send a direct message on our Facebook page. You can also WhatsApp us. And for general updates about power in your neighborhood, we invite everybody to join our BL Power Updates Facebook group, where we keep you updated with anything regarding outages, services, or offerings. Just join us in that group and you'll get all the information you need.
So I've been listening to Herschel and of course you, Vonetta, and I'm hearing all of the warnings and so forth. And as a customer of BEL, I can just say once again, thank you both so much for the service and the hard work that everyone has been doing. And just to kind of echo what some of your other customers have been asking and stating, we all kind of take the fact that we have access to electricity for granted, right? And of course we are consumers and we're paying for that service. But when it comes to restoration, and this is something that we might not fully be aware of, the amount of resources and manpower that it takes for us to get back on our feet, to get electricity back. So Herschel, if you could humor me please, and humor the audience for a little bit, can you walk me through a process where the pole is down, the wires are down, and the amount of work that it takes to get that back up and running?
Thanks, April. So I guess it starts, like I said, with the assessment. So one of our technicians or supervisors or engineers comes ahead, does the assessment of damage, takes a sense of what is needed, and then that gets passed on to our supervisor who plans for the job. So they gather the materials needed, they assess whether the job needs a bucket truck, whether it's a single bucket or a double bucket, depending on the size of the pole, depending on the height of the line in the area. And then typically if a pole is down, we also require what's called a digger derrick. That's the truck that can move and plant the poles. And so those things we make sure that we have on site, and we get to doing the work. And the work involves, as I said, removing the old pole, planting the new pole, removing the attachments from the old pole and restringing the lines. Well, reframing the new pole and then restringing the lines along that pole. So those things, it's a process, it's a systematic process that takes some time.
Right.
And that's what we've been doing for the last 5 or so days. So you can imagine how much work that is when you have 100 plus such poles. Right.
And how many workers to man each and every one of those per se? What would be your ratio?
So in general, a job like that may take about four persons. We have the pole crew and we have the actual line crew doing the work, and maybe someone that's doing some material work. Providing materials necessary, doing those assessments and reviewing the job. So in total, we have somewhere around between 15 and 20 teams, not countrywide, but in the areas that were affected, that are doing the work. And those teams are line crews, 2 or 3 man line crews that are in the field doing that work. We have engineers and supervisors on the ground as well, doing the supervision, doing the groundwork, technicians on the ground doing the groundwork, moving materials, communicating with customers, etc., doing still assessments as they move along, capturing new information because we may be able to restore one area but had to take out this customer because they had this issue. This is the type of work that has been going on, and so it's a full effort, it's a full team effort, and I want to take this opportunity actually to acknowledge the work that our teams have been doing. Those guys are superheroes in my eyes, and apparently so in everyone else's eyes recently. From the comments and the feedback on social media, I know they've been getting warm rounds of applause and acknowledgement in all the areas when they've been able to bring back a community. And it's well deserved, I think. And in fact, I think that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps our guys and our teams going, because it's grueling work. After 5 days, it's hard to keep that motor running, you know. And so really, I want to commend publicly acknowledge all our linemen, or technicians, or engineers, or supervisors, and also the support teams. We have our customer care and customer service reps that have been taking calls for the last 5 days as well, responding to customers, checking with them on their supply of power. We have our HR team that has been supporting the teams in the field, providing food and drinks, and taking care of their accommodations, because we brought in people from all over the country. We have our storekeepers that have been providing the materials, our communications people that have been communicating with you guys, Vonetta and her team, our telecommunications guys taking care of the networks and making sure that we can communicate with our devices in the field, and our control center operators and supervisors. They oversee the network. They make sure that it is safe for people to work, and they give us a guarantee of that safety. So this is a full team effort, and I want to publicly acknowledge the entire team that has been making this possible, and that has been able to bring back power to 99.5% of customers in these areas, right?
One of the things that I wanted to ask, and this is more for the benefit of some of our viewers, is that you've, as you said, like most of the power has been restored, but there may be individual cases, and you see, I've seen comments on social media saying something like, "Oh well, my area or my neighbor has power and I don't." What might be some of the reasons why one individual home or establishment or whatever may not have been restored as yet, and if that person has an issue like that, and I think Vonetta gave the contact information, but maybe again for the benefit of our viewers, how should they, or what's the best way to contact BL about those, whatever individual issue that might be?
So I'll try not to get too technical.
Yeah.
Give a quick idea of why that type of thing happens, and then I'll allow Vonetta to talk about her contact information. But remember, I mentioned the distribution network.
Yeah.
On that network, we have high voltage lines, and then we have distribution transformers that supply secondary networks. Those low voltage networks extend to customers in neighborhoods, and a transformer may feed anywhere from 15 to, in some cases, 40 customers, depending on the size of the transformer and the size of the households. So those secondary networks now may have issues along the length of those lines. And then at each pole, we are able to do a service drop or a service connection to the individual homes. And so those service drops may have individual issues as well that need to be taken care of. And so the challenges that we've been having is transformer issues, low voltage network issues, service drop issues. And in other cases as well, the service entrance of the customer may have an issue that needs to be addressed before we can energize it. And so when you see your neighbor with power and you do not have, it may be because of an issue with your service drop. It might be because of an issue on that portion of the secondary or the low voltage network that feeds you. Or in some cases, you are on a different transformer and that transformer has not been repaired as yet. And so those issues are what we are tackling. I assure the public that we will get to all of them. It's just a lot. And so we have to move systematically. We have to move in an efficient way. I know customers have been calling and asking for us, it's a small thing, it's just to connect me. We are trying to make sure that we move efficiently, so we don't want to have our teams all over the place. But we are having teams in every area at this point. And so I want to just thank the public for their patience, first of all, and assure them that we will get to every last customer before it's all said and done, right? Vonetta, the contact information.
Yes.
Yes, I just want to echo that appreciation, Herschel and Gavin and April, that we do appreciate people's understanding. We know that, with so many days that have passed since the hurricane, that some people are anxious now if they're still waiting to be restored with service. And so we know you need your comforts of your home. Our teams are working aggressively to get to everybody. But please, if you need an update from us, do not hesitate to contact us. Our WhatsApp number is 613-0676. You can email us at blcare@bl.com.bz. Follow us on Facebook. Join our Facebook Power Updates group to get updates. And of course, you can call our 800 number at any time. That's 0800 BL Care. Just that we have our teams on standby waiting to receive all your reports and your permits.
Thank you so much, Vonetta, and thank you so much, Herschel. And just echoing the sentiments of our viewers and your customers, we do very, very much appreciate the amount of effort and work that BL has put into to help us get back on track. I also want to state that it has been less than a week, and you're already at almost, what is it, Herschel, 99.5% of power. So we extend that gratitude, and of course, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning and sharing all of this update with us and with our viewers.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to take our next break, and we'll be right back with more OIE. Stay tuned.